What up YouTube, it's Mizrate's Company. In today's video, I want to show you the updated best single target wizard build in Diablo Immortal. This one by far does the most damage than any build I've covered on this channel. I know other content creators have also covered either similar builds or this exact build, but it's because it is literally meta. It is the most efficient thing available, which by the way, that's what meta stands for if you didn't know. But it is fantastic for raids. So if you're pushing content or you just want to get top deeps for your warband or whatever you're doing, this build is insane for PvE. Now, let's get straight to it. So we're gonna go over here, we're gonna practice on our training dummy, and then we will go over the build as a whole. I'm gonna hit it for 20-30 seconds. Hopefully I don't mess up the rotation. It's not complicated at all, but sometimes I'm dumb. Anyway, so keep in mind on the overall DPS and then the total damage as well. We're gonna do it for about 20-30 seconds, like I said. No pressure. And here we go. All right, so I did mess up because usually I get over 2 million. I wasn't looking at the DPS counter, but usually I can get over 2 million pretty easily. Let's continue the test anyway. We're maintaining over a mil, which is pretty good. DPS per second, and then get a little bit of a peak here when this happens. So bam, there's 20 seconds. Yeah, so it's good, right? And obviously these numbers will vary. These numbers will vary but with your builds and your combat rating and your secondary stats. So what's good for me might not be quote unquote good for you. Before I see people be like, you only got 1.2 million DPS. I know, okay? I know other people get more, all right? I get it, I hear you. There's so many factors that go into these builds, such as the secondaries, the essences, but in terms of your overall stats, my combat rating is what it is, but you might have higher stats than I do, which would obviously bring you the ability of doing more damage. So keep that in mind as well. There you go, there's my damage. So now the build itself, we are utilizing the silver lining headpiece, which is the black hole now devours the power of enemies caught within it, increasing the damage you deal by 28.5% for 6 seconds. Really good. It's also weird using black hole like this for basically a buff in PvE. Very weird, but by far the best damage. For the chest piece, we're utilizing rampant and inscrutable, which is the lightning nova now conjures a lightning orb that orbits you, firing lightning bolts at your target when you use your primary attack. Lightning nova damage increased. For the shoulders, barbs of annihilation, which is disintegrate conjures a sphere of energy that attacks nearby enemies and dissolves their armor, increasing the damage they take. Disintegrate damage increased by 18%. For the pants, Dead Star Striders, which is meteor now targets an enemy with a star mark, causing meteorites to crash down on their location. Meteorite damage increased. And then for the main hand, it's one of the newer ones. Magic missile explodes every 3 hits, dealing an amount of damage to surrounding enemies. And then it is woke. And then for the offhand number 1, we're using Blaster Cast, which is the magic missile fires 2 additional missiles. And then offhand number 2, or main hand number 2, Lightning Nova now also increases your primary attack speed. So this is Old Rustic. And then offhand number 2, we're rocking the Stickle Burr, which is when magic missile deals a critical hit, it explodes and deals an amount of damage to the nearby enemies. Damage increased by 90%. Now for set gear, if you want to see what I'm rocking a 4-piece Vithu. Some people call it Vithu. I don't know why it bothers me, because it is technically Vithu, but like it's Vithus. Anyway, so 4-piece Vithus, 2-piece Banquet for the dealing damage to enemies suffering from your continual damage effects increased. And then I'm rocking, where is it down here, a 2-piece Grace. I've thought about getting rid of the Banquet and going to a 4-piece Grace and a 4-piece Vithus, but because I'm kind of between 2 classes right now, I like where I'm at. You know what I mean? I'm bouncing around between different classes to test different builds. So for that reason, I like the set gear that I'm utilizing, but you could argue that there's a better option by doing that. So, and there could be an argument as well for changing Banquet out for, what is it, Gloom, the one that gives you increased attack damage, since the majority of this build is attack damage. Whatever the one that gives you 15% additional damage. You could argue that one as well. And that's probably actually, now that I say that out loud, better than Banquet, since this is only during suffering continual effect, and that one would be all the time. But either way, you get the point. ultimately, this is by far the highest damage build that I have as a wizard. I have all of the essences unlocked, and this is by far my favorite of the builds. Now, in terms of Paragon trees, because they are important, I'm using Weaver because I don't have Ranger unlocked yet. But it is important to note that if you do have Ranger unlocked, you should absolutely be using Ranger, if assuming you're the wizard using this build. So this is by far the highest DPS. Again, what good DPS is for me is gonna be different than you. I know everyone's gonna tell me in the comments something different on what their DPS is, but this is good numbers for me. Okay, not this obviously, but you get the idea. So let me know what you think about this build. Try it out. It's super good for PvE, especially raid builds, and obviously good for dungeons too, where you lack mobility, and it's really just single target focus. So that's the build, guys. I love this. I had to jump back to the wizard in order to make this video because I realized I left the wizard and went to the crusader and didn't make any build videos, so I had to spend the day to go back and do this. So shout out to being able to class change daily. I love that. Anyway, that's gonna do it for today's video, guys. Let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. Let me know if you tried it before or not, but this is by far my favorite. And until next time, guys, I hope to see you in a video soon.